Welcome, everybody, to the first episode of Inside Outside Voice. If you're normally checking out content here on World Championship Wreckage, you're used to pro wrestling content. And of course, we've got that. But this is going to be one of the few shows that are going to be on this channel that is not wrestling related. But we still hope you're going to check us out because we're going to do something a little bit different. If you don't know me, I am Justin, aka Dad Hat Wrestling on all social medias. Join with me for this adventure on Inside Outside Voice. We've got my buddy Alex, aka Wrestling and Coffee. Um, the show's going to be talking a lot about what it's like being a parent and having kids and the wild, crazy adventures and funny, sad, weird things that go into all of that. Like I'm sure we're gonna laugh. I'm sure we're gonna talk about what makes us mad. There might be some tears shed, but you know, this is gonna be a little different. I'm sure there's gonna be some wrestling in there as well. Because I know for me, both of my boys are my toddler like carries around a Seth Rollins figure
Yeah,
like all the time. So there'll be some
nice.
wrestling. So, but yeah, first of all, thank you, Alex. I'm glad you wanted to do this show with me. Like I had this wild idea, and you were like, "Yeah, let's do it."
Let's do it.
Yeah. So today
Yeah,
we're gonna.
man, I'm excited. Like it's funny because I've been thinking about trying to. I've dabbled in some dad content on my other TikTok account. The original TikTok account is the Comic Book Alex one, and I've done some stuff there, and it does okay. But I also don't post enough to like keep the
Yeah.
algorithm wanting me to do stuff. So it is what it is.
Yeah, my TikTok's so random. Like it's mostly wrestling, but then I'll throw it. Like I literally just did an elder emo video earlier, and then I'm talking about movies and Marvel. I mean, it's all over the place. Like
Right.
the algorithm doesn't know what to do with me,
Exactly.
other than keep showing my face to wrestling content creators.
Exactly.
But yeah, so today what we're going to talk about, we figured we kind of need to start from the beginning. So we're going to talk about what it was like for us when we found out we were going to be dads for the first time. And we also are going to have some moms join us. We might have somebody that we love and want to stick with us, and they'll be on with every show with us. We don't know, but yeah, we're going to talk about the first time that we kind of found out what it was, what we were kind of in for, because it's a ride being a parent. Alex, I know for me, I mean, we've talked briefly off camera, but like I have a toddler and I have a preschooler.
Right.
Yours, I think one's a little bit older, one's a little.
So I have my daughter's going to be 3 in July,
Mhm.
and my son is 18 months old. So
Okay, so your youngest is just couple months older than mine. So yeah, so
yeah.
we've got one around the exact same time. So we know what that struggle is like. So for you, like, how did it kind of come about? Like, did your wife surprise you in any way? What kind of run us through like what happened when you
So
found out for the first time?
so before finding out, like we actually were trying. Like we had some stuff that happened. Excuse me. Like life stuff happened. We had gotten married, and then I lost my dad in 2019, and then her mom passed in 2020. And we had gone like it felt like, and then the panini, the pandemic happened too. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened in a short. And we got married in 2019, so it just a lot of stuff happened in that short amount of time. And we had discussed it before, and we were on the fence. And then one day we were just like, let's have a kid. Like let's just.
Let's go
It
for it.
sounds crazy to be like, let's bring a kid into like all this insane stuff that just
Yeah,
happened to us,
yeah.
but so we had tried, luckily it didn't like we didn't have any issues. So but when I found out, I was actually still working from home because it was the panini. And I keep saying that because of, just in case you want to put this on TikTok.
Yeah.
It won't.
I forgot you can't say that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyways, so um, but yeah, so I was working from home, and this is we were living at a different place. We were living in a like a condo. We were up, so we had the second story, and I was up there in the office working. And she's like, "Oh, come down, whatever." And our dog, she had put a shirt on him that said like, I'm going to be a big brother. So
That's awesome and
yeah,
adorable.
yeah. And like and it was cool because she actually ended up working on it with like someone like she went to high school with that had moved and then like moved away, then came back. So like she was like messaging for her friends, like, how can I announce it to them without just being like, hey, I'm pregnant, you know? So, but yeah, like, I don't know, like, we obviously we did everything we could to prepare, but after everything that happened, I wasn't freaking out or scared or anything like that. It was,
Yeah.
I mean, had gone through. I was like, if we can get through all that, like, and again, it's
Yeah.
going to be. It's a being a parent is a challenge. It's not like I was going to be like, oh, this is going to be a cakewalk, you
Yeah.
know? Like,
Far from it. So far
definitely,
from it.
definitely not. You know, like each obviously we'll get into this later. You know, but each stage of just like having a kid is so different. You know, just from being a newborn baby, infant to taught, like all these things are just they're so radically different. Like it's almost like once you feel like you got the rhythm of something, they throw something else at you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Oh,
But
the quote from Big Daddy where he's like, "What's wrong with you? You were normal yesterday." That that is said often in my house.
but yeah, like honestly, we were just we were excited, and that we wanted to share that with with my mom and her dad and
Mhm.
just like other family members. So and then we had to we ended up selling her place and then moving in with with her dad. We're in her childhood home now. So
Cool.
our kids they have their own rooms. They're actually, it's funny because when my wife started living here, when she was a baby, her room was where my daughter's room is, and then when she got older she moved into where my son is now. So
Yeah.
but yeah, it's just funny, yeah, it just and there was, I don't know, it's weird because I think there was so much going on. I didn't have time to stop and think and be like, oh shit, I'm gonna be a dad,
Yeah.
So it's I don't know. It's just I felt like it was exciting, and I guess it's because of, again, like I said, everything I went through with my wife,
Yeah.
that I felt like no matter what's gonna happen or come along, we got this, so. And I know
Yep.
that might sound cornbally or cheesy, but like that's what it felt like. That's what it feels like with
Yeah.
us. There's days we come, like today. My wife had to run to CVS for something, and we got home with the kids from daycare, and they're both screaming about something like completely different. And I'm like, okay, hold on. While I'm trying to finish making their dinner, and I'm just
Oh
like,
yeah.
yeah.
If you think kids are gonna you're ever gonna have quiet again if you don't have kids, there's so my job, I drive probably about 45 minutes to an hour depending on traffic, sometimes more. For my job to and from. And there are times where it's just like, you know what? I don't want music. I don't want noise. Like it's just
Yep.
it's my
Quiet.
it's where I'm quiet. Yes, there's
Yeah.
cars. Yes, there's the noise of my car, but like quiet. Like that's that. And the
Yeah.
second like there's been times too where I've just pulled in and I'm like, okay, there's gonna be a lot of noise when I open that door. And there's times where my wife will text me like, "You coming in?" And I'm like, I'm like, like she hears the car and she's just
Yeah.
like, "Are you coming?" Um, so for us, it was for the first one for my oldest.
Yeah.
It was a little bit different. We got married in 2015. My wife and I have been friends since middle school and high school, and we not really drifted, but like I went to college one place, she went to college somewhere else. We didn't
Right.
really stay in touch. We randomly kind of just reconnected later on in life, and I was living somewhere else. She was living in the same area that like we grew up in, and I moved back down this area, and because we were once we reconnected. I mean, I was talking to her daily. Like we were. I don't know. I'm a big believer in fate now because even though they were in different grades, like her mom and my mom went to high school together.
Right.
Or actually, my mom and both of her parents, and then like my mom and her mom actually worked together in the middle school where we met. So like
Okay.
I'm a big believer in fate and that the right person gets put into your life and just at the right time. Even though we were friends in high school and everything, we never dated. We were just friends and but we like as soon as I was down here, it was like no. I mean, I moved down here with the sole purpose of being with her, even though
Right.
we weren't even dating. I moved back down here because I was like that's who I'm going to be with. She didn't know I was thinking all that, of course. Um, but yeah, so we got married in 2015, and it, we both kind of had this mindset of like we want to enjoy the time of just being married because we know like
Yeah.
I always knew I wanted to be a dad. Like I had my parents divorced when I was in third grade. There was a lot of trauma from that,
Yeah.
as a lot of kids unfortunately have to go through with divorce families. But I I always knew I wanted to be a dad, and it probably was because like my dad and I have a great relationship now. But when I was younger, I was raised by my mom. I saw my dad; he was so in and out of the picture for most of my life now. When I was younger, but I think because of that, like I was always like, I want to be a dad. I want to have kids. Like I don't care what I do for a job. I could pick up trash. I don't care what pays the bills. Like I want to be a dad. And even if somebody
Yeah.
asks me what I do, I'm like, I'm a dad. I work for blah 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 blah. But like that, they pay the bills. But I want to be a dad. So, but we really both have this mindset of we want to enjoy the time of being married and like enjoying our time together because once we have kids, that that's harder and everything. So we got married 2015. We I guess the best for kind of for both kids, like we weren't like actively trying, but we weren't preventing, I guess is the best way to kind of put it.
Okay. Yeah.
Um, and we like some stuff happened and everything, and we kind of we just kind of were like, okay, like I think we were kind of stressing each other out of like again, like we were talking about it so often, but it wasn't like we were just really actively trying. Um, but then we it was a weird type of thing. Like we had decided we were going to go on a long weekend trip up to the mountains, and it was Super Bowl weekend, and we were going to go up there. And the last day of our trip, it was gonna be Super Bowl Sunday, and we were like, where we're in the mountains, we knew it was gonna be everything was gonna be closed, but we were like, cool, we'll grab food, we'll stay in the hotel, we'll watch the Super Bowl, we'll just hang out and everything. But like when we first got up to the mountains or everything, like I don't know what it was. I don't know, like it wasn't like I was necessarily paying attention, like oh, like you're late or anything. But I was just like, I literally just kind of said it to her. I was like, do you need to take a pregnancy test? And she's just like, maybe when we get home. And I said, no, we're going to go get one now because I'm going to be thinking about it all weekend. Like I'm going to
Right.
be thinking about it. And so when we got up there, like we drove around to like a couple of CVS's and everything. And we were like, dang, we didn't realize how expensive freaking pregnancy tests
Yeah.
were.
Those things are not cheap at all.
So knowing both my wife and I, like, we're not necessarily like, we both with our money are very much like that's ridiculous. There's no way I'm paying for that. So she was like, they have them at the Dollar Tree. We're gonna find a Dollar Tree. Dollar Tree was closed that first night we were
Oh
there.
man.
So we went that day of the Super Bowl and got one.
Okay.
Um, and it's my wife is literally in the other room and she just texts me. She's like, I'm listening. You have left out part of the story. And I'm like,
Uh
what? I'm like, what? That was a lot. That was not a long time ago. So I'm texting her now and be like, what did I leave out? What did I leave out? So, um, so Um, uh, we found one, and it was we grabbed food, and we were back at the hotel getting ready for the Super Bowl, and it was the Eagles playing the Patriots.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah. The Eagles won.
yeah, the Eagles won.
The only reason I
So
know it's like my in-laws are from like the Philly area, and it was a big deal obviously that year that they were there and then they won. So
yeah, oh okay. Well, my wife just texted me, so I wasn't going to go necessarily really that deep into it, but I mean, she kind of brought it up. So the kind of the stuff that kind of went on, we unfortunately had lost a pregnancy.
okay.
So um, prior to my oldest being born, And I think because of that and everything, I think that's what made me very aware of like when she was having her period, the time and that timing. I think that's what made me kind of go, you need to take a pregnancy test. Like
Yeah.
I don't know, I don't. It just was that.
Right.
I think that just really is what made me kind of more aware of everything.
Yeah.
So, but we got one from the Dollar Tree. Uh, of course. I mean, it was positive, and so like she didn't really get to surprise me because I called her out on it. Um, and I jokingly said, "I'm like, man, the only thing that can make this even better is if the Eagles beat the Patriots, and then the Eagles beat the Patriots." I'm like, it was a good day. It was a good
Nice.
day. So I tell my
Yeah.
oldest, I'm like, man, I really need to buy him an Eagles T-shirt, like or an
Yeah.
Eagles hat or something. But yeah, and it was like you were talking about how like everything had kind of gone on and everything. For me,
Yeah.
like we hadn't gotten yet to 2020. So, and I tell everybody this, like if I have friends that find out they're expecting their first one, I'm just like, wait to the most exciting, scariest 9 months of your life. Like to me,
All right.
that's how the pregnancy was.
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think because of what happened with the pregnancy prior. But I mean, at the same time, like had that pregnancy gone through, we wouldn't have my oldest.
Right.
Because of the time overlap and everything. So,
Right.
uh, the best, scariest 9 months
I
ever.
bet. Yeah. I
Yeah,
bet. Like, yeah, it's just that's like one of those things I can't even imagine. Well, one going through that. That's how you
I
guys
didn't
got
know.
through that. Yeah.
At the time. I didn't know she was pregnant.
Right.
I didn't know. I was at work, and I get a call from my father-in-law, and I'm like, he never calls me. I'm
Yeah.
like,
You're like, that's not a good sign.
yeah, like I have a really good relationship with her parents, but like I just I was like, why is he calling me at work? Uh, and so at that time, I had no idea that at the time that she had been pregnant and everything. And I literally, I mean, I got to work and I rushed. I didn't even know where the ER was where she was, but I rushed. I mean, I was flying down the interstate getting there. If I had gotten pulled over, I would have been like, "Yo, cop, follow me to the ER. You can
Right.
give me a
Yeah.
ticket there after
Yeah.
I get inside." But
Yeah. Get me to
uh,
the ER and I'll pay the ticket.
yeah, like just get me to the ER. So, but yeah, best scariest 9 months ever was that first one. Um, what about for your second one?
So it's funny with the second one. Again, I don't know. Like, and so let's see. So with the first one, my wife, uh, she had been told something, when she was really young, like 18 or 19, by an OB, like the way her body is set up is like she probably wouldn't be able to have kids.
That's crazy because that's kind of similar. Like, yeah, that's crazy.
And uh, the I remember like her not wanting to, and especially like with everything going on during that time when her first one was born. But she didn't want to say anything until like we got to like I can't remember what week it is where you're like
Oh yeah,
the percentage drops so much to where
yeah.
it's like
It's pretty much after the first trimester. Like
yeah.
it's like that's how my wife was with both.
Yeah, it's just she's like we're not saying anything to any. She's like she told close people, but
Yeah,
she people that wouldn't say anything, but we didn't tell any family or anything like that. And I told a couple of my friends, a couple of my friends that I knew that were like, it's lock under lock and key.
yeah,
But yeah, that was like because she kept thinking, about like possibly losing the pregnancy and everything just because of like the thing in the back of her head of like what
yeah.
that OB said. And so luckily both kids, we didn't have any issues, but so it's funny because my wife is very much one of those people that is like that looked at like for her presence when she was a kid, or she'll like even this week she's like, "What did you get me for Mother's Day?" I'm like, "I'm not telling you." She's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, you didn't get me anything." Like that's gonna be like, "Oh yeah, I got you blah blah blah." Like that's not gonna work.
yeah,
So, but it's funny because she's like when before our daughter was born, she's like, "Oh, what do you think of, waiting until the baby's born?" And I was like, first off, I'm like you're not gonna wait for that.
yeah,
Like that's not happening. And then second, I was like, no, we're not gonna do that. So it's funny. We did the blood test for both of them
yeah.
before like doing the sonogram, and I I don't know about you. like, do you have both
Both
boys?
boys. Both
Okay,
boys.
so it's funny because my brother, I have a brother. Like that's all. I don't have anybody, else in our family, like that would carry on like our name or whatever. But
Yeah.
he has girls. He has two girls, and so we had our girl, and I was like, well, I guess we only make girls, I guess. So we got the blood test for my son, and we actually did a video for it and posted it on my TikTok for Comic Book Alex. But we read the results and saw that we were having a boy, and like I I didn't care either way,
Yeah.
honestly. But I was just so excited, and just like over the moon. And here's the other part too. So like the way it works out is her our daughter's middle name is my mother-in-law's first name,
Okay.
and my son's middle name is my dad's
Oh, I
first
like
name.
that.
So yeah, we did that whole name him after. Don't move the camera. There we go. But yeah, like and I'm telling you right now, like having a girl versus a boy,
I don't know that girl dad life. I don't
it
know. I
is
don't know that.
it is night and day, my friend. Well, the other part too. So like my daughter is really smart. I know people are like, oh, my kid's smart, whatever. Like our
Yeah.
daughter is like,
That's what I say about my oldest dude. Like
yeah,
we have a thing here that I don't know if they do it all over the country or even in all the state, but it's called 1,000 books before kindergarten.
oh wow, okay,
He has already he starts kindergarten in the fall. He finished 1,000 books last summer.
oh wow,
So like between like what we've read him, but I mean he's going on 6 and he can read for the most part.
that's awesome,
But I'm like, yeah, I'm that way too. I'm like, I know everybody says their kid's smart, but like I'm like, clearly he picks up things quickly.
right?
Yeah.
Like so, my wife is a speech therapist
Oh, cool.
for a living, and she mostly works with adults. She works like in an outpatient part of like a hospital, and but she did work with kids and things like that. And she while we were before she was born, my wife is like research, research, research. She's that person,
Yeah.
and she was teaching her son, and she was home longer with that during that time with our daughter. Like she had a longer maternity leave,
Okay.
so so she got a more time to like basically teach my daughter. And I think she was like 6 months when she went into daycare,
Okay.
and she already knew some signs and stuff, and they're like, oh wow. And then it's funny, like the teachers will tell us, be like, God, she's so smart, like like her language is just crazy. Like people think she's older because her language is
Yeah.
just crazy. And again, like with both kids, like we read to them all the time. Like,
Yeah.
do you know the book Pout Pout Fish?
Oh, yeah, he loves it.
Yeah.
He
So
loves
like
it.
both kids love it, and then like my son is like obsessed. Like he's always like he'll find it and go pout 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 and like bring it over, and like he's now his language is starting to kick in more too. Like he's putting two words together now.
Yeah.
So like he's but yeah, but anyways, my daughter, like we'll be reading a book and I'll stop reading it. I'll stop and she'll finish whatever
Oh yeah.
is there. And like we were doing she's like all about like Cat in the Hat and Green Eggs and Ham right now, and she's like by Dr. Seuss. Like she always says that.
That's funny.
But it's funny. I'll stop. Like I said, and it'll be like a random line too. It's not always like something that would be like Sam I Am or whatever, or Green
Yeah.
Eggs and Ham. I'll do that too, but then I'll stop reading a certain line and she'll just finish it, and I'm like, how do you remember this? Like,
Yeah.
what the heck?
It's
You know?
crazy. Yeah, it's crazy. My oldest, he's been obsessed with dinosaurs forever. Like
Nice.
I don't know when he's like I don't even know when it started. Like it's been a thing for as long as I can remember.
Yeah.
But I mean, so I went to college up in the mountains of North Carolina and love going back up there too. It's like it's my happy place. It's my peaceful place. Like it's nothing is ever wrong up there. It's my solace. But he's gotten to go up there several times and see the campus, and he always jokes. He's like, "I'm going to go to college here." Well, he's already got his whole like young life already kind of mapped out because he's like he tells people he's like I'm gonna be a paleontologist and I'm gonna
Huh.
go to this school and I'm gonna like then I'm gonna get my master's and go here and I'm like you're 5, slow down, dude. Um,
Right.
but yeah, but for us, I mean, so for our second one,
Yeah, for your
I did
second one.
I did get kind of I can't even say I was surprised. I was shocked. Like we were like if like with the first one I said we weren't actively trying, but we
Right.
weren't preventing. I don't even like again, we weren't preventing, but and like we had talked about having another one and like you know the 2020 and everything going on with that like we were like we want to wait through that we like I mean again the fear of what happened before our oldest like that was
Yeah.
definitely still could that happen again we don't they
Right.
say yeah they were doctors were saying you've already had the successful pregnancy it's the likelihood's going down percentage wise that would happen again but it could and so like I don't know I was very much the like I don't know. Do we have another one? Do we not have another one? And it was I don't really know. I mean, I think I had really literally just kind of gotten to the point like because we've been talking about having a second one, and I think we both had kind of just got to the point where we're like, well, we've been preventing for however long now that we've like this has been going on, but and nothing's happened. Like maybe we are just going to end up having one, which is great. He's happy, he's healthy, he's here. Like that's all that matters. And so I have a theater degree. Like I'm an actor. I used to run my own theater company in this area as well. Like, but I definitely went from being more of I went from being an actor who directed occasionally to being like over the years, like I'm much more of a director who will act occasionally. Well, when my firstborn was born, again, because being raised by a single mom, I think I also had that mentality of like he's only gonna be that age that for that short amount of time, and it goes. Everybody's like, it goes so fast, which it does.
Yeah, it does.
But I was like, theater's always gonna be there. I can always go audition for anything. I can always
Right.
apply to direct. Us like I can always produce and direct anything I want to do. Um, but my oldest had gotten older and everything, and I kind of wanted him to see me in a show, and which is funny because he didn't actually see me in this show, so he still hasn't seen me in it.
Hmm.
But I auditioned for a show. It was my first show,
What show is
and
it?
there was Julius Caesar. There's Julius
Okay.
Caesar.
So
Uh,
my wife, uh, she didn't get a theater degree, but like she was in theater in high school and stuff, and like she's still like a huge like theater. And then like my
yeah,
best friend Steven, who I've talked about like on my
yeah.
like his wife is who's also our friend. They knew each other in high school, and like through theater, they went to different schools. But because of like
Oh, the
Pappy's,
theater
I don't know if
world
they
is
have that up
you're so
there.
connected in an
Yeah,
area.
so it's so funny is so they knew each other. And we randomly ran into each other playing Pokemon at a park.
Oh, cool.
And anyway, so this is the ADHD kicking in, going
Oh,
into a
you're cool.
long, making a like a short story long. Anyway, so she is a high school theater teacher, and down
Very
here
cool.
in South Florida, and she actually is going to. She's going to be, but yeah, and then she on during the summer. What she was doing this week, she's there's a playhouse up in like West Palm Beach somewhere. I can't remember where it is that she does. She's done a few shows with them. Like she doesn't direct or anything. She just goes and acts,
Acts. Yeah.
So and then she actually worked at up in Orlando for a while too. Like she went to UCF for theater and like
Yeah.
worked at the parks and like she was in like Suzical and stuff like
There's
that. So
a lot of good theaters in
yeah,
Florida. A lot of people I worked with when I did my internship, like so many of those like union actors came up from Florida. Like so they were like right down this place, right down this net. Like I have somewhere a list of people that just people that I like. I at one point I was like talking to via email, like, hey, like I'm here. I can't drive down because I'm a poor college graduate and I don't have the
right.
gas and the money to come down there and audition. But here's a a link to here's to see me if you ever want to use me and that type of thing.
So
But
you did see. So let's go back to you were doing Caesar
yeah, I was doing Caesar. I was doing
before
Caesar.
my ADHD
No,
kicked in.
you're totally cool. Yeah, I was doing Caesar. And again, this was the first time I had been on stage in, whew, man, 7, 8 years.
Okay, yeah,
7, 8. Like it it had been a minute. It had been a big minute, and it definitely showed too. I was like, "Whoo!" I used to say I could remember. I could memorize lines
All right.
"Whoo, whoo." You have one kid, your brain, and that the amount of sleep you lose with that kid, like your brain's gonna go. Whew. It was rough, and especially remember. And my wife goes, "Your first playback, and you had to do Shakespeare," and I was, of course,
Yeah.
me having the cockiness that I do at times, being like, "I like a challenge." When really I was just like, I hope I can remember these damn lines. Um, so I did all the rehearsals because, like, for me, like being the regional theaters and everything or community theaters, like that I can do and still work my job. Like
Yeah.
the reason I didn't do any theater like when he like my oldest was born for like 5 years was because I'm like I would literally be going work during the day, rehearsal at night, get home 10, 11 at night. And I always had that mentality. It's not fair to my wife. It's
Yeah.
not,
100%.
but like she really encouraged me to audition and to do that show. She was just like, she was like, it's what a 5 week commitment. She's like, I think you, she's like, she's like, we'll be okay. Like, go do it if you want to do it.
Nice.
And so the guy who was running that theater company and everything, he was I had worked with him before when I was running my theater company in the area. And he was like, it's good. And everybody was so well, like I knew a lot of people in the cast and they were like, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. And they were like, everybody, like I had a few people who were like, oh, I remember seeing you in a few things or excuse me. And they were just like, we wondered what you kind of dropped off. It's like, I had a kid, like
Yeah.
I was being dad.
Yeah.
So like I go through the entire rehearsal period, and it's and about it, and then we get to the point where we move into the um, we've moved into the venue and we're doing tech and everything, and we're about to do like final dress and everything, and I get like I, th- I think it was like our first dress rehearsal. I get home and everything, and I'm literally getting undressed and I took a shower and everything and I'm like putting on like gym shorts and a t-shirt or something like whatever I was sleeping in and my wife literally just drops a bomb and goes, so you ready to be a dad again? And I'm like, excuse me. Like when I mean she dropped it out of nowhere,
Yeah.
out of nowhere.
Like an RKO.
No, I'm like that's what I felt like. And the funny
Yeah.
thing is I remember this. I don't necessarily remember the act of actually doing it, but she does, and she tells the story so much better than I do. It was probably 45 minutes to an hour. So our bed is like of course, the headboard's like up against the wall.
Right.
So you can't go around in a circle, but you can go like,
Hmm.
this. I paced and talked like this.
Wow.
45 minutes to an hour.
Hmm.
Like, not trying to rationalize it, but
Right.
it was just out of nowhere that I was not expecting it.
Right.
And I'm like, you told me while I was literally like almost like pretty much just in my underwear. And she's like, well, you proposed when I was in pajamas. And I was like, but yeah, I mean, she's like, and so even my mother-in-law like gave me hell for it. She's just like, so I heard that there's like you walked a whole like new route in your floor, like there's a path
That's
now, and I'm
funny.
like, shut
Yeah.
up. I mean, I know I did it and everything, but it was such a just had days
Right.
of doing it and everything, and it's just like I'm like she dropped it out of nowhere, like it like and I was like, and at this time too, again, the theater company, the guy, he had been talking to me about like wanting to direct next season,
Yeah. Like,
and
well.
And so, well, no, I didn't say anything because again, we wanted to wait till the end of the first
Yeah.
trimester because again, we were worried. And so he kept like being like, "You can pick any show you want for the most part." He's like, give me 2 or 3 options like from different like publishing house, so that way we can kind of look and see like what the rights and the royalties and everything will be.
Yeah.
But pretty much pick anything that you kind of want. He's like, and if we don't do that, I'll remember those for the next year. But we have a couple in mind as well, like which one of these. So like we were talking again well before like I knew that we were going to have the second one, and so he hadn't given me a definite time where he needed it by. Well, then he did, and I put it off, and I just didn't respond, and I didn't respond. I felt really bad, and finally, I was just like, "Hey, dude, so nobody really knows this. This is a couple weeks out from being done with the first trimester,
Yeah.
and I was like, my wife is pregnant with our second, and and I was like, I'm sorry. And he was very congratulatory and everything, but his next sentence was like, so I'll see you again in another 5 years. I'm like, yep, most likely yes.
Nice.
So have not done anything theater wise since then because again, I want to be dad. I want to be home.
Yeah.
I want to be present and everything. So yeah, and I love it. As tiring and stressful as they are, and sometimes make my head explode because it's very much like my oldest looks like me. Man, he has my attitude. Like he is like, and it's funny too because like he gets along really well with my wife, like
Right.
probably the best. And my youngest, who looks like my wife more and everything, he's kind of like glued to me. He's definitely wants her a lot of times, but he is very like he's more glued to me. And there's other stuff which I'm sure we'll get on to other episodes and everything. Because after he was born, I thought that I was going to lose my wife and I was going to be a single dad
Oh Jesus.
with two new ones. Yeah, that's a whole another episode that we could go in with that. But yeah, like it's so funny. But yeah, my oldest is like I'm looking at a picture at him on my desk and everything, and I'm just like, yeah, you're me. Like, and I'm like, man, I hope you do better than I did in life. Like on so many things.
Yeah. I
But
mean, that's what we
that's
can
what
hope for.
yeah, that's all we can do and everything. But
So it's funny that you've said that you've always wanted to be dad. So confession time from this guy. Most of my life, I was convinced. I was like, I don't want kids. I
yeah,
don't want kids. And and this is the thing too. Like anybody listening to this, I don't want them to be like me saying this. Like if someone doesn't want kids, 1,000% okay.
yeah,
Don't want kids. Don't want kids. But I just, for me, everything that we went through, and then just being that close, I've never felt that close to anybody ever in my life. With my wife, and I was like, let's somebody that's a little bit me and a lot of her, like in this world I think would be great.
yeah,
So that's what like I was for. Like I didn't have kids. My daughter was born when right after I turned 40. So and she's going to be 30 soon. So I just turned 43. But
oh, I turned 39 this year, so yeah,
yeah, so like,
we're both kind of older.
yeah,
Parents.
older dads, which is, it's fine.
Yeah.
Nobody knows we're our age anyway. So
Yeah.
that's the good thing for us. But, but I will say now, like, I love being a dad. Like I like, that's, my wife and my kids, like that's I have my dog, he's laying on the couch next to me now. But these are like this is our world, and I absolutely like love it. Like it's funny because I'm not like to me they're a little too young to try and get them to watch wrestling just yet. But she's definitely like the good thing with Disney Plus is like there's all the Disney movies, and then because like my wife and I are huge Disney people, I know you are as well.
Yeah. She's just tattooed on me forever. So
yeah. Like this is like I have I'm a huge Star Wars fan as well. Like and this shirt I'm wearing now is obviously from Disney, but this is the shirt I was wearing the day both my kids were born. So like it just happened to be the shirt I was wearing when my daughter was born, and my wife's like, you have to wear that shirt and put it on, the day Calvin's born. I was like, done and done. So, but anyway, like it's just cool, like, and then next week we're going to Disney with them again. We have the annual passes. We live in Florida, so it's like a couple hours drive for us. And then, and it's just funny. Like the last time we went through, you get through Magic Kingdom, you get through the gates and you go through like the underpass thing and you get to like going on to Main Street. My wife goes to my daughter. She's like, what rides do you want to go on? And like, not expecting her to remember anything. My daughter said the teacups and the Dumbo. And I was like, what?
Oh yeah,
This is like, you know, I forget. I'm trying to remember the last time we went. I think it was. I can't remember. It's before I don't think it was this year yet. But anyway, so yeah, we're doing the trip this next. But I just like, and it's funny because people are like, "Oh, taking kids that young, whatever." Just do it.
yeah,
Like, especially if you love Disney. Like my wife and I joke about like we're
yeah.
Disney adults that have
Oh yeah,
kids.
oh yeah.
You know.
That's us.
Yeah.
My oldest and everything. He's a little tour guide. Like he could tell you like he can literally walk off of Small World and go, all right, we're gonna go down here to the right. We're gonna go to Haunted Mansion. After that, we're gonna jump over and we'll cross through that little cut through, go over to Aladdin's carpets, and then and I'm like,
That's
dude, I'm
awesome.
like, you've been there too much and everything. But uh, yeah, I mean, he loves it. We'll be back down there June or July. I forget when we go back, but
Well, yeah, yeah. That'll be like we may or may not go again in October, but because we have like family friends coming. But anyways, but yeah, we're just like I love all that stuff. I love. So the other part too is like you know introducing and all that stuff on Disney, like Disney Plus or whatever. So
yeah,
like when they go to the parks, like my daughter's automatic. Like I remember she was 6 months the first time we took her, and you know in Magic Kingdom where Mickey is, you go in the room and she saw, you know, you're standing in line, it's that little room, and you
yeah,
can see him. Actually, no, this is when after COVID, because
yeah.
before he was like, he was behind a rope or whatever. But anyway, so the first time you could go, I think she might have been a year at that time. So my wife's like kind of recording us going in the room. She's standing in front of me and I'm holding. She starts pushing on my wife's shoulder so she can get out of the way so she can see Mickey. Like it was just so
That's awesome.
funny.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's so. I mean, we I'm sure we can do probably a whole Disney episode.
Oh, 100. We were going to do
Yeah,
one,
we
yeah.
got plenty. I got.
Especially when after I come back because I'm doing the lightsaber build for the first time,
Oh,
so
cool. Yeah,
I'm
I haven't done that. I
super
haven't done
excited.
that.
Well, I was smart, and because my birthday was in beginning of April, I was like, anybody's getting me anything, money or Disney gift cards, because that's what's going towards
Yeah.
building the lightsaber. So,
Oh, see. Right now, I'm like, anybody wants to get me anything? Just PayPal my wife, so she put or same thing like for Father's Day. I'm just like trying to go to SummerSlam, trying to go to
nah,
SummerSlam, trying to get there, trying to get to Cleveland, like literally B-roll and XLJ, like we've been talking about, like mainly me and B-roll because XLJ already got his tickets with somebody else,
okay.
like and he was like, so B-roll's like, I know you said you were going, and he was like, I don't have my tickets yet. I'm like, cool, I'll sit with you. Yeah, absolutely. I'm like, me and him always we've always got we've been close for the longest time anyway. So I was like, yeah. So I'm just like SummerSlam, trying to get there. I'm like trying to say I knocked out 2 of the big 4 in 1 year. uh,
What was the other one you went to?
I went to Rumble in January.
Like I went to Rumble. I was actually at the Rumble AJ Styles like
Oh, lucky.
debuted at because it was in Orlando, and
Yeah,
like we went up and like it was just it was so much fun.
yeah,
That's probably one of my favorites. Like of all,
yeah.
just it's just like such a fun pay per view, you know.
See, folks, even though it's not a wrestling show, we eventually round back into wrestling. Uh, Well, yeah. So I think that'll do it for our
Yeah,
first episode. Again, we're kind of just taking this one episode at a time. I mean,
yeah,
believe me, I'm sure you will hear funny things, especially with the ages that our kids are. I know that our friend, the Travel Queen Bree Stout, she wants to jump on here some when she's got some older kids. So I'm sure her
okay,
stories will be a little bit different. And then we've got
yeah.
others. So first off, Alex, let them know where they can find you.
So you can find me at Wrestling and Coffee on pretty much all the social medias, and at Comic Book Alex as well if you want to look there too. But Wrestling and Coffee is just going to be wrestling related, and the other stuff, Comic Book Alex is going to be everything else nerdy I do, and dad stuff.
Yeah. But you can find me, Dad Hat Wrestling, everywhere. World Championship Wreckage, everywhere. X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it. Instagram, even TikTok. We have our own and everything, and we're doing something a little different here. So hopefully you guys will continue to kind of go on the journey with us. Like again, there will be some wrestling talk in here.
Yeah,
When you're a wrestling fan, you kind of like we already did it today, like jump
have
into
to
wrestling. So
throw in some of the references too, so
yeah.
that'll happen.
So I mean, as I'm wearing a Sting shirt, I have quite a few Sting shirts. But yeah, So make sure you give us a like and subscribe, leave a comment.
Yep.
Anything parent, dad related you would like us to cover, please put it in the comments. Like,
Yeah, please
yeah,
do.
yeah. So yeah, we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Bye,
Till
guys.
next time.